Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So I am officially back from my little impromptu break after Inktober, but I feel very refreshed and excited to get back into the swing of things. And I am extremely happy to be able to get back into it with this particular video because it's a new thing that I've never done before, but I've been incredibly excited about. So I could not wait to be able to show you guys what I work on today. Now, I will absolutely talk about what actually makes it special because it might look very run-of-the-mill as far as just a digital piece, but I will talk about that more, I promise. It is actually going to be an animated illustration, so there's a little spoiler, that's what it's going to be. But today I do want to say that today is sponsored by Skillshare, and you've probably heard of them. I have worked with them several times in the past because I absolutely love their product, but they're a website with thousands upon thousands of classes that are available to you as video form, and they're all based on creative type topics, from the business behind creative careers to all of these different artistic classes that are based on things that I've never known existed or knew that they were possible, or things like today where I've always been fascinated in it, but I've never quite figured out how to do it. They also have tons of watercolor classes and digital classes, and anything that you might be interested in getting into, they've got it, and they have classes from beginner to advanced. So they have everything there. I love going there for new ideas on pieces that I can do. And if you follow the link down in my description, you can get, for the first 100 people, 2 months for free to try it out and see how you like it. I highly suggest at least trying it out because it has so much content there that is incredibly inspiring. I know that I personally get a lot of my inspiration from class type environments, from things that are instructional. So that is why it's something that I always end up coming back to. But you can also use the code, which is YT Danica 5. So that's like YouTube Danica 5. And I'll have that up in the corner so you can actually see what it looks like. But let's just jump right in with this piece and what I actually end up doing. So I was looking through the classes to find something that would spark an interest for this piece, for what I wanted to do with it, and I found one that was called Bringing Your Webcomic to Life, Create an Animated Comic, and it's by Sarah Anderson, and most of you probably would recognize her work. She actually created Sarah Scribbles, so she's a pretty well-known cartoonist, and I absolutely love her work, so I was really excited to see this, and it is a very insightful class, but it's also very easy to understand. She doesn't get too complicated or anything, but I just listened through that and it immediately clicked that this is exactly what I want to do. So this is very applicable to a lot of different ways that you can apply it to yourself as an artist, to your marketing. It was actually incredibly helpful and versatile, and it got me thinking about all these ways that I could use GIFs. So she goes through how to create these in Photoshop, and immediately my mind went to all of these amazing animated illustrations, and that's what I wanted to create today. I wanted to create one for a long time. I have a lot of them saved into my little Pinterest folder for inspiration because it is surprising how much life and interest one little moving detail in an image creates. It's just so magical to look at, and it's so much more enthralling than just a flat image. And I've always wanted to be able to find a way to incorporate that into my pieces, but I've never quite given the time to do it. So it was nice to be able to find just this nice, concise class that went through exactly what I needed. So right now, what I'm working on is I'm just getting the base layers. So I had an idea in mind already, so I knew that I wanted his skeleton to glow in and out and have these other little effects around him that would be the same color. I wanted it to also look like it's almost like this arrow is causing it, that it's this curse, that he's under the spell. So I knew that what I needed was one solid illustration, and then I needed the glowing effect to be separate on a separate layer. Now, this is where the key is when it comes to animating in Photoshop. And again, I really recommend that you watch the class because she explains it very well. But being able to have the different assets on the different layers is the way that you actually animate. So when it comes to each frame, you just choose which layers will be active and which ones will be turned off. And that way you can have things come in, come out, and fade in, fade out. And you can actually do so much animation with being able to use transparencies in your layers and build them up. And it was really fascinating to be able to figure that out and see all the different applications I could do with this piece, but also in the future with different kinds of effects. So yes, that was the first thing that I needed to do, and that's what most of what I'm working on in this video is me creating the actual drawing. When it comes to actually animating it, it was a really quick process that came together really fast because I didn't have to worry about actually drawing a smooth animation. Mine was simply a glowing effect, but Sarah Scribbles, or Sarah Anderson that is, she does go into actually showing a bit of an animation effect where she does that with her characters and with real shapes, so you can get a better idea on how to create an actual fluid change of motion for an object itself when you watch that class. But for me, I wanted to start with something relatively simple and sort of subtle, I guess you could say, where I wanted to focus on a glowing effect. And small little side note, I talk about this a lot, where I'm really trying to focus on individual things that I can make better. So in this piece, I went and I did kind of a lazy route where I did a skeleton, but it was more of a guesstimation. It was from my idea of what a skeleton looks like, but it was not accurate and I wasn't looking at any reference. And I had that done on that layer and I was like, no, I know that I can do better. I know that I can find what an actual side view of a rib cage looks like and make that happen. And I'm incredibly glad that I did. Once I changed that and made it more anatomically correct, but also put in a little bit more of my flair to it, where I was able to break up the ribs where they kind of split apart and then merge back into each other. It was just much more interesting and accurate looking. It looks way better than the first shot that I took, and that really didn't take that much time, but it just was deciding that that was worth it. That was something that I should go back and fix. And I find that the more I'm thinking that way, the more my pieces improve, and it is really very satisfying to see an instant improvement on a piece where I know that's something that I can do better and I fix it, and immediately it feels really good to be able to see that, because a lot of times when you're working in art, a lot of the improvement you don't see until you're looking back at months of work and you see, okay, I'm getting better at this and I'm getting better at that. But there are so many cases in your pieces where it just takes a little bit more focus or effort or time. I know that's a big thing for me, is sometimes I just need to take a little bit more time to spend on a particular aspect. And once I do, it really elevates the piece. So I think that was the big fix on this one that really improved the piece, was fixing the anatomy of a skeleton. And when it comes time to actually animating, you just need to make sure that your timeline is active. So what you do is you go up to your menu at the top, click Window, and select Timeline, and that will allow you to work on the frames that create your little GIF or your animation. So the one tool that I found was really helpful to be able to create very smooth gradients between this glowing effect was the in-between button. So that button, I believe, is like 3 or 4 little dots that lead from one to the next. So there's a lot of different settings, but how I used it is that I would click on it while one of the frames was active, and it would create an in-between after that was between the 2 frames, and that meant that it had a really smooth gradient that was a lot easier to create that way than going in and really finessing that, especially for effects. There we go. Effects like this where it's glowing, it's all about the opacity of one layer to the next. That just saved me a ton of time, and I ended up adding quite a lot of in-between layers, and that really just smoothed it in and out. And I think the final step that I loved the most is creating this moving highlight in his eye. It really emphasizes that this glowing effect is changing the lighting condition, and I just think it was just this one little touch that added a lot more movement to it, and it was really fun to animate as well. But what worked best for me was to work on animating one effect first and then go back to the beginning and animate the second one. That way I wasn't trying to think about 2 different things and how one was coming in and as well as the other. So that helped, just being able to do one first and then make sure that the eye highlight followed the animation that was already happening and already done. And that is it for today. Remember that the first 100 people who use the link down in the description or the code YTDanica5, they'll get 2 months free at Skillshare, and that is a great way to try it out and see if you like it. Also, my Kickstarter for Lumina is ending this Friday, so if you'd like to be able to get a copy of my art book for Inktober, as well as the 2 stretch goal stickers that we've already achieved, there's a link down in the description. I'll also be adding the final stretch goal, hopefully today or tomorrow. That will be one full-size print of a redraw of one of my last Inktober pieces from last year, which I cannot wait to get to. So if you'd like to help support that, you can go and pledge as well as share that link. That would be immensely helpful for us to be able to get to that point. But that is it for today. And I do have a link to my shop in the description as well, just like I always do. So if you'd like to own any originals or prints, I've got that there for you. And yeah, that's it for today. So I'll see you guys on my next video, which will be on Saturday. Thanks for watching.